Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Abington School Committee meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, April 26th, 2022, and I'd like everybody to stand for a flag salute. Thanks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any hearing visitors tonight that would like to speak? Okay. Moving on to the reading and approval of records. We have the April 4th minutes. If anybody could look that, if we could look that over, and if anyone would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Next, we're moving on to the March 22nd, 2022 minutes. If someone could make a motion.
I can make a motion.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And next up is our presentation of the MASS Certificate of Academic Excellence.
So if I could,
Yes.
I'll introduce Principal Bourne. And should I share the winner of the award now, or are you going to do that in your remarks? I mean, they're here, they're in the room, they know they're here for a reason.
Would you announce the name and then I can?
All right.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Enver Amboy, and we're very proud of you, and we're about to hear why from Principal Bourne.
All right, thank you. This is one of my many favorite things to do, to be able to come and brag on some of our students at the high school. So Enver Amboy is our top-ranked senior of the graduating class of 2022 and deserving recipient of the Mass Association of School Superintendents Award. Enver is an incredibly accomplished and talented student. He's also a 4-year member of the cross-country team and a member of the track team 9th and 11th grade. He was a member of National Honor Society, or is a member of National Honor Society from last year and this year, and a member of the math team this year as well. Enver is also part of the gaming club in 9th and 12th grade and the book club in the 12th grade. He has earned high honors all 4 years and was awarded an Excellence in History Award and an Excellence in Computer Science Award. Mr. Jacomar, Enver's teacher, remarked about how adept of a student he is and his interest in a chatbot program that he's doing on his own, for his own interest and his own pursuits in academics. And I got to learn Enver last year by my incredibly basic Japanese that Enver is learning on his own and taking second year of Japanese as an independent study, just to learn another language, because why not? So Abington High School is very proud to recognize Enver Amboy. His family is able to come today. So congratulations, Enver. Thank you.
So yeah, because it's the Superintendent's Award, can you make us look better and get a picture with us, and then ask you if you really want to, if you want to say a few words, give us some.
I didn't tell him he needed to, so.
You don't need to. You don't need to.
Yeah, I can say.
Yeah.
So make us look better first. That gives you time to think.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to get into arts. There it goes.
You have some experience with media?
1, 2, 3.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, so I didn't prepare a speech or anything. That was for when I graduate, but I just wanted to say this is great. Thank you so much. I'm so happy I got this. I don't even know what to say, because I was really surprised, because I've been at 2 for I want to say 2 years now, and I was oh yeah, I don't know if I'll make it to number 1, but surprisingly enough I did. So thank you so much. That's all I got to say.
Congratulations. But I'd like to add that he does all this while also running all hours of the day. We see Enver running
the streets of Abington late at night, early in the morning, and he still has time to be as accomplished as he is. Very impressive.
Very impressive.
Would it be okay to ask if you have ideas for plans for next year?
Yeah, I plan on pursuing electrical engineering because I think it's like an interesting field because I really like robots. And I'm planning on attending University of Massachusetts Amherst to do that. And
Awesome, congratulations.
thank you.
Good job. That's awesome.
Thank you all.
Thank you for coming. Congratulations again, Emily.
Congratulations.
So next up is the report of the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. And we have the Art Department, Mrs. Poirier.
Hi, my name is Michelle Poirier. I'm the art director, K-12. I'm just going to show you some things about the art department. So a few of the strengths of the department are the last 2 years we've added 2 new art educators. One's in her first year at Beaverbrook and Woodsdale, and one's in her second year at the Abington Middle School. We've implemented the kindergarten curriculum. I think we started that last year. So that's the first time that we've had kindergarten art in a long time, or for the first time, I'm not sure. So all students now in grades K through 8 are receiving art education. In 9 through 12, it's an elective. We have a lot of students that do sign up for it. This year, we've been able to return the district-wide art shows. So we've already had the Youth Art Month at the public library for grades K through 4. That was the month of March. And on May 18th, we have the Celebrate the Arts Festival in collaboration with the music department for grades 5 through 12. And this just shows, evidence of high quality work, perseverance, effort, and student engagement in the art program. A couple of areas of improvement or things we have as goals in the departments are to spend more time as a department on in-service days, especially with new instructors in the district. We'd like to have the staff meet together more, aligning professional practice goals, team and student learning goals as a department, kind of align the curriculum a little bit more, work together, get to know each other a little bit more. And then also try to have some meaningful professional development activities specific to art. We've identified as a goal within the department also to working with ELL students, as there's been an increase in ELL students every year. Just trying to get best strategies, best practices from other teachers in the district, from professionals, and just to serve the most amount of students the best we can. A couple things, the staffing levels haven't been fully restored from cuts over time. So back in 2002 and 3, we had 3 part-time and 3 full-time art teachers. Right now we have 4 full-time. So I think it's short about half a teacher at the high school is how it used to be aligned. But we've shuffled some of the grades along the way as well. And also an area of improvement is returning the instructional time in grades K through 4 back to 45 minutes, as they've been shortened to 30 minutes over time, which is short, especially for little kids with cleanup and that kind of things, and all those activities. So the things that the art department, the curriculum grades K through 8, are basically from all those grades, you just study at different levels, the elements and principles of design, which you can see are listed there: line, shape, color, value, texture. So working on the basics and then creating personal projects within those. In high school, we have about 11 courses that we run. Sometimes, depending on how many students are enrolled, some of them don't run, some of them do. We basically have 3 categories of art classes at the high school. We have 2D, which is the drawing and painting. We have 3D, and we have the digital arts. And they're kind of set up so you have an intro class, an advanced class, a level 1 class for all 3 of those. And then in drawing and painting, we have the AP Studio Art. We attempted to run a small business and retail and graphic design class in conjunction with the business department. We just didn't have enough students that had heard about it this year to sign up for it next year. So, we'll try to get that off the ground and running, in years to come, kind of advertise it a little bit more. So this is split up between myself and Ms. Keneally, 2 full-time teachers at the high school. So on average, 250 to 300 students are electing art classes per year. In 2019, right before the pandemic, we had over 400 kids signing up for art classes, which was our highest enrollment in a long time. So it's kind of dropped a little bit, just because kids hadn't been taking art class in the classroom. but we're back up to about 300 students electing to take classes per year. The introductory classes are the most popular, so that we have the most course sections of the drawing and painting introduction, digital art introduction, and sculpture 1. We do run an AP art class. We've only had one student take it the last few years, like per year. This year we have 2, but one decided not to submit a portfolio to the AP exam just because for time constraints. I think enrollment could be higher if we had a specific dedicated AP class, but with staffing and scheduling, that kind of doesn't work. We wouldn't have like the numbers just to run that one class. So we usually recommend kids that work very well independently, because it's kind of, they do their own work all year by themselves. So that's why the enrollment is pretty low. But you can see the students that do elect to take AP art do very well, higher than the state standards. Do we have questions?
Quick question on the AP art. Just wondering, for those students, do they work completely independently, or are they in a class doing their work, but following the curriculum, following the AP curriculum, but in a class with other students?
Right, they are with other students. So they're with Drawing Painting 2, the advanced class, and the Level 1 class Drawing Painting Portfolio. So it is a class of about 20 to 24 kids. But they come up with their own ideas, they keep their own timeline, and they're coming up with their own concepts and working on their own mediums and things like that all year. So it's like a class of 1 within a class of 24.
Michelle, first, thanks for coming. I have 2 of them quick. So in the high school, did you, and you might have kind of said this anyway, but are you seeing a bounce back this year, though, from what it was in 20 and 21? Like, I know it's not pre-pandemic, but is it working its way back up towards that?
Yeah, I think we saw a little bit of a dip last year, just because when they were working remotely, I don't think they were enthusiastic about the class as much as being in the school. But now coming back, the enrollment is back up.
Okay.
The numbers have been, when we saw the numbers for next year, they're just as high.
And the second one has to do with the elementary school. So you may not have received this feedback directly, but I don't know, from a parent or from any of the administration. So I guess, vaguely put, how has the feedback been, or how has the new staff been received at the elementary level with the changes that took place there this year?
From Beaverbrook and Woodsdale?
Yes.
There was a pretty good turnout of the art show at the the public library, and I think coming up we can advertise it a bit more to get more parent involvement. How it used to be, we had more parents show up to that, but I think that was kind of a marketing thing on our end. I haven't had any negative or positive feedback from parents through the district. Talking to Jonathan Hawes, he seems enthusiastic about the change, and says she's doing a great job.
Okay.
Michelle, I can follow up on that, but we've heard lots of positive feedback about our new art teacher from students and parents.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Costa. Thanks, Michelle.
I knew what you meant.
So, and I can also follow up because I can say, having stood behind the desk, there were a lot of families who did cycle through the library. It was that not everyone could get there on the day.
Right.
It was amazing to see artwork come back. We really liked it. The families, the kids were very enthusiastic about seeing their artwork, dragging parents, grandparents in. So that was really nice to see happen. My guess is with some of the, I know from personal experience, some of the classes at the high school level, you can't take every class you want to take. So I'm wondering if that is quite like the music program with art. Sometimes things are backing up onto other things, and that's just the nature of the beast. Are you running fewer sections of things right now because of less staffing than you've had in the past, or are you still running the same?
The only thing that I had a dip was, as becoming the art director, I dropped a period of teaching myself, so that it was kind of one class taken away for students to choose. It kind of made all of our other classes bigger, which is fine. Rather than having 16 to 18, now we have 24, which is great. But that was kind of a little hit to the art department, yeah.
And one more question. So did you say you had to celebrate the Arts Festival?
It's May 18th.
Okay, I was like, I really thought I missed something. I was like, okay, Parent of the Year Award, there you go.
Nope,
all right,
coming
May 18th, perfect. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you for the update.
Michelle has done a wonderful job leading the department. She follows some excellent leaders, and our department hasn't missed a step. She continues with that excellence that Abington is very proud of. The high standards, the success of our students. I always sort of see them as an extension of each of our art teachers in terms of the products that they create. I think that's the right way to see them, and so nice job.
Definitely. Thank you. Next up, we have the Chet Millet Outstanding Teacher and Support Personnel Award update. It's Dr. Fedora.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Bye.
So I'm going to present the Chester Millet background right now. So that occurred the past couple months. The Chester Millet Junior Award is presented to a teacher and an educational support personnel person by his or her performance and demonstrated willingness to assume responsibilities and perform above responsibilities within what they do, normally expected. And last year, we made some updates with the help of our school committee member, Danielle Grafton, and we moved the form online. We received this year 67 nomination entries for 11 educational support personnel and 40 teachers this year. So that means we had, more than one teacher was nominated, how we got the 67. Since it is super top secret until Teacher Appreciation Day, which is next Tuesday, we're going to announce it then, so I can't tell you who the winners are. We just had a meeting last night, and even Mr. Schaefer doesn't know yet, so I haven't told him. But I want to thank the committee for their time to review the nominations and take the time to meet last night. This is a super important award, and it's great for our teachers and our educational support personnel. We had parents on the committee, AEA, and an assistant principal here from the middle school to serve on the committee. So I just wanted to thank everybody, the parents and the students, for taking the time to make those nominations for the teachers and the support personnel. So Appreciation Day is next Tuesday, May 3rd, and we'll be sending out an announcement then. Until then, mom's the word.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And next up, we have the summer school update with Dr. Robbins and Dr. Fedora.
So we're going to kind of tag team this. I'll go through the Green Wave Summer Academy first. So what I'm going to talk about is basically the Green Wave Summer Academy, which is different than the program that James is running, the ESY, or the extended school year. So he's going to come up and talk about that in just a minute. So similar to last year, we're offering the summer school in grades 7 through 12, and it's going to be housed again in this building, 201 Glenowitz. And the purpose basically is to provide students with an opportunity to reduce learning gaps and losses primarily due to the pandemic. Eligibility is open for students in grades 7 through 12 that received multiple failures in core subject areas like math, ELA, science, and social studies. The successful completion of the summer program for grades 9 through 12 will provide 5 credits in ELA and math, and for middle school, reported summer school grades will supplant failing grades in there. Summer school, again, is going to be free of charge, and we anticipate providing transportation like we did last year. We're working on that with designated pickup areas to the middle high school campus. The anticipated dates are similar to last year. It's going to be Monday through Thursday, starting in July 5th, and ending July 30th, and it'll be from 8:45 to 1 p.m. So again, it's going to be 4 days a week for 4 weeks in a row. The only exception is that first week because July 4th is a Monday holiday, so it's actually going to run Tuesday to Friday that first week, and then the remaining weeks will be Monday through Thursday. And any questions on that?
I have a question about the credits. So 9 through 12, you get 5 credits. And then what did you say for the 7th and 8th?
7th and 8th, their grades will be reported from summer school.
Okay.
And then that will supplant their failing grades that they had during the year.
So what if somebody's moving from 8th grade up to 9th? Like, so they wouldn't get the 5 credits towards the 9th grade, right? Okay, just making sure.
I have Mr. Bourne back here.
They
Answer the specific details.
So if they were taking a summer school class for something that they need to make up in the 8th grade, they,
Yeah, then they get the ones
then,
that
right,
make sense.
for 8th
Yeah.
grade, nothing for 9th grade.
Yes, absolutely.
Just
That's a
a
good
quick thing for the high school program. Last year, it was all failed classes you received passing grades for, just because of the extent of the pandemic. This year, it's 5 in English, 5 in math, and then 5 general credits. We're actually having conversations about that English credit being potentially a humanities, so English or history, but not both, depending on what the kids need.
I like it.
I don't know if now is the appropriate time for this question, but I'll just ask it anyways. And I apologize if you said something about it and I missed it. But do we have the same safety net in place to catch the kids early so that they have the chance to fix their grades and avoid summer school?
So we have an ACE program at the high school and Boost again at the middle school. And those have run all year long to try and catch those kids.
Okay.
And our success rate last year, I don't have the exact number, but was pretty high last year to catch those kids to not have to be eligible for summer school. So yes, we do have those safety nets in place.
Okay.
Did you give projected numbers for this summer? Do we have a potential idea of how many we might be looking at?
For middle high school, I don't have those numbers yet. Do you have an estimation
I
yet?
could guess we may have 60 students that would
Okay.
be eligible and 45-ish that
That will
would
show.
likely
Okay,
participate.
thank you.
Yep, as we get closer to the end of the year, we'll
It
we'll
all
have
comes
those
clear,
numbers.
yep.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to continue on.
Sure.
Because new this year, we're going to have the Beaverbrook Summer Boost. And this is going to be like a summer school to provide the neediest rising second grade students that are transitioning into Woodsdale that are not already identified in the ESY program or the EL service program. And it's an optional 4-week program as well. Eligible students would be 2 or more reading levels below our reading benchmark diagnostic along with teacher recommendation. So Summer Boost would provide targeted reading and writing intervention designated to move students to the beginning of the year benchmark. And we would be using specific small group strategies. Invitations are going to be sent to parents around May 13th, and families must commit to that daily attendance to keep that running. So the dates would be concurrent with the Green Wave Summer School Academy and the ESY program dates in July, and will also be housed in this building at 201 Glenowitz. But unlike the secondary model where we have the 8:45 to 1 o'clock, we're going to have 2 separate sessions on the same day to be provided to the kids. So the first session will be 8:30 to 10, and then the second session will be 10:45 to 12:15. And I'm going to look at Dr. Bosta to see if he wanted to add anything.
Yeah, just a quick clarification. It is for students in first grade this year rising to second grade. So not students going to Woodsdale. These are students who are beginning readers, and this year we've been providing intervention, and the teachers will be identifying which students would benefit from more intervention over the summer, so that in second grade they're in a better position next year and then following to go to Woodsdale. We have space for about 72 students. We don't know how many to expect. The teachers are each going to recommend between 7 and 8 in their first grade classrooms, and then we'll see which families take us up on the offer.
And they'll be bused as well to Littles? No, they won't.
Because
Okay.
it's only an hour and a half,
Okay,
and we have 2 sessions,
right.
it's just, it makes more sense for families to drop them off.
Thank you.
It's probably wishful thinking, but I'm assuming all students would benefit from it at the elementary level, that we have kids in each grade. I know funding and staffing is probably an issue, but is this something that we would look at to do for, are we piloting it? If it's successful, would we pull small cohorts from each grade who are
So,
struggling?
For us, we are looking at it as a pilot for Beaverbrook. We probably wouldn't consider it, I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but kindergartners who are rising to first grade,
Right.
the majority of them are still very
Correct.
low-level readers and still struggling, so we would have to invite almost all of them. So in the
Yeah, I'm
future,
thinking more for
maybe
the
it would
upper
be
levels.
second grade to third grade,
Yep.
and then it would be up to
Woodsdale.
Woodsdale community
Yep.
to make that determination.
My question is more about the child who maybe the teacher doesn't see as much of a concern, but the parents perhaps do. If there are kids who receive invites who aren't taking those spaces, is there going to be room available for maybe some of the parents who have some of those concerns?
I'm not sure we've discussed that. So students who are eligible for what Dr. Robbins is going to talk about, who have IEPs and,
Right,
and will be
ESY.
receiving ESY, are not eligible.
Right.
Students who may be participating in a summer EL program would not be eligible. We'll be, like I said, inviting 7 to 8 students per first grade classroom. If they don't all attend, we would technically have spaces. I'm not sure how we would decide if too many parents ask to participate. We'd have to do some kind of lottery process, or first come, first serve. And since this is our pilot year, I don't think we'll go down that road.
Okay.
But that could be something that we...
I ask because you know that there is going to be someone who's going to want the opportunity, but maybe the teacher just doesn't see.
Well, the teachers, the first thing they're looking at are benchmark scores.
Right.
So that is our criteria right off the bat, is where is the student as a reader compared to other first graders entering second grade. So that's the first box that has to be ticked. And then teacher recommendation, because there might be some students who are where they should be, but they're still very weak in comprehension or in ability to write about what they're reading. So, so those are the two things we're looking at. So chances are that students who we would want in there have already been identified. You're right though, every parent's going to want their child.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
I think so.
So could I just wanted to, and I won't repeat myself when James gets up there. We've always done the extended school year program for our special education students. We've always had the academic piece in Abington. We haven't had the boost program at the elementary level before, but really coming out of the pandemic, this is really critical to target this assistance to those kids who need it the most, because everybody's experience was different in the pandemic. Some, it was bad for everybody, but it was worse for some. And I want to just thank, as Sherry described this program, we've built this out more than we've ever done before, even a little bit more than last year, which was an exceptional year too. So the administrative team who are right now managing, our principals and our assistant principals who are currently managing buildings, scheduling for the next school year, hiring people for the next school year, planning events for kids for this school year, hiring people for summer school, and creating a summer school program. I'm very appreciative of the work that the principals, assistant principals put in on this with Sherry. So thank you.
Can I also add that the funding for the extra programs are, our ESSER funds are being used for that, which is the purpose of the ESSER funds, is to provide remediation for things that were lost during the pandemic.
It does sound really exciting. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to James if there are no more questions. Awesome. Thank you, Sherry.
Hey everyone. So what I'm up here to speak about is the extended school year program, which is the summer program designed for students with disabilities. So to be eligible for this program, you need to already have been identified as having an educational disability and eligible for special education. So in our district, we have approximately 360 students with educational disabilities. And just to kind of give you a sense of magnitude as to the number of students who are eligible, we'll likely have approximately 120 students who are eligible. So how do we make the decisions about who is eligible? So fortunately, the federal and state government or departments of education provide crystal clear guidance to IEP teams as to how to make those decisions. So there are really two factors that weigh in as to whether or not a student ought to be eligible for summer services. One of which is if they've demonstrated regression of learned skills over some period of gap in their learning. So how we usually determine that is we'll assess a student prior to a long break, something like December break, February or April break, and just see where their skills are at. Then we'll reassess when they return after break and see if there's any evidence of learning loss. If there is, then we can conclude that they're eligible, that they're vulnerable to regression and ought to be considered for summer services. So that's kind of one criterion as to how we make the decision. The second one is whether or not a student is making unexpectedly slow progress toward their IEP goals. And then there are some like other unique considerations as to who ought to be eligible. Those are the two that are handed down from the Departments of Education, state and federal. Additionally, there are some types of disabilities, let's say apraxia, for example, where a student may not show regression or may not be making uncommonly slow progress, but we know that they're not going to make any progress whatsoever without direct systematic instruction. So that's a population that we would also consider for summer school. So that's how we make the decision, and that's why there are 360 students with IEPs, but only 120 or so will actually come. Just a few quick details as to what the program looks like. So as Sherry said, the program runs from July 6th to July 28th, 4 weeks, 4 weeks in July, 4 days a week. The students arrive at 8:30 and they're dismissed at 12:15, so 3 hours and 45 minutes per day. The students participate typically with grade level cohorts up through 7th grade. So that is, the kindergartners will participate with other kindergartners, second graders with other second graders, and so on. Just with the exception of, there are some students who participate in what are called TLCs. These are therapeutic learning centers. So these are for students with more severe disabilities, and oftentimes their groupings are across grade level in a separate setting. So there are a handful of TLC students who will be participating in classes with kids in other grade levels. But if you have a child who is attending the ESY program, chances are they'll be in a grade level cohort. Grades 7 and 8 are also mixed a bit based on the reason that they're attending. So like if they're attending purely for math reasons, they'll be with 7th and 8th graders studying math. If it's for ELA, 7th and 8th graders studying ELA. So what do they do with their time when they're there? So the idea is that we're primarily operating at a grade level. So kindergartners with kindergartners, second graders with second graders. And we'll have a grade level teacher. Fortunately, many members of our own staff participate during the summer, so they'll have a teacher oftentimes they're familiar with. And they'll arrange math and ELA instruction. But each student on an IEP has an individualized education program, which includes specific unique goals to them. So the teacher will be creating like math and ELA grade level activities, but they'll make sure that for each student in their group that they are that their individual goals are addressed in some way. So that kind of explains the arrangements thinking pre-K through 8. So what about grades 9 through 12? We do have some students who are vulnerable to regression or are making slow progress to our goals there. So what do? For those students, we contract with the North River Collaborative, who create this integrated program that focuses on functional academics, life skills, like creating daily routines, making your own lunch, like just day-to-day living skills, and also some vocational skills as well. And there are a handful of other students whose needs are such that our program doesn't effectively address those needs. So for those students, we will just contract out with some summer programs that are already existing. The other thing I'll mention is that in addition to the academic areas that are addressed during the summer, we also target related service areas. So we do have a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, speech language therapist, and a school psychologist available to provide services in those areas. So I think that transportation, that's something that is determined on a case-by-case basis. So at each annual IEP meeting for a student, it'll be determined whether a student is eligible or not for this program. Like I said, there's guidance given by the state, but it's still a conversation with the family, because the family may bring up some perspective that school staff are not considering. So at each IEP meeting, it'll decide if a student's attending the ESY or not, and there's determined if transportation is necessary as well.
Any questions?
James, is it here again?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Good question, and yes, it's here again.
Okay. So all the summer programs look like they're taking place here.
It's going to be a busy place.
That's good.
The start times are staggered a little bit.
I saw that,
Yeah.
Anyone else? Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Robbins. We appreciate you coming tonight, both of you, for your updates. Thank you. So next up, we have the principal's report. Mr. Jonathan Bourne. He is here tonight to talk about the 2022-2023 school improvement plan.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for having me up here today. Happy to talk about the school improvement plan that was passed by the high school school council at our most recent meeting. A brief walk through the recent history of the school improvement plan at Abington High School. As you recall, last year was an interesting and complicated year. For the NEASC process, it was required that we have a current school improvement plan. So using the template format, we did put a school improvement plan last year that captured what we did last year. So if you were to look at, there's a recap page, the summary of the 2020-2021 school improvement plan. It outlines what we were able to accomplish during the last school year, and most notably was hosting the NEASC visit in the midst of the pandemic. That NEASC visit gave us a tremendous amount of feedback that was very helpful that I shared with this group back in the late fall. And many of those recommendations became the basis of the current school improvement plan. While last year there were 4 goals, those templates, frankly, were things that I knew the school community was familiar with, and we borrowed from the previous year's school improvement plan. So while there are only 2 goals in number, and it's not to suggest that any of the items from the previous years we've stopped doing, we will continue to have a safe building even though it's not a goal. This really is to highlight programmatic changes that we anticipate making in the years ahead. So the first goal is to advance the vision of the graduate as the centerpiece of Abington High School's academic experience. I feel like this group, and everywhere I go, every time I say the vision of the graduate, a bell rings and everyone says, oh, there he goes again. It's a big deal, and we'll get onto that. The second piece is continuing on the work we have done this year as a school and district on cultural proficiency in the building and the classroom, and the second goal will be to further that in the school as well. For the first goal, there are 4 activities or professional development indicators. The first 3 are direct recommendations taken from the NEASC Decennial Report as work Abington High School should be doing based off of that report for continued accreditation. They are, and I will read them briefly, develop and implement a communication plan that shares the vision of the graduate with the entire Abington High School community. The second, design and provide formal opportunities for representative members of the school community to play meaningful roles in the implementation of the vision of the graduate. The third is provide opportunities for professional learning and growth in which educators explore how to design learning experiences that align the vision of the graduate and provide opportunities for students to practice the skills in the vision of the graduate and receive feedback on their growth. It's an awful lot. In short, what we did this year we were very fortunate as a school to have a very well-established community-built vision of the graduate before I came here. We wanted to take it from something that goes beyond a poster and a graphic. That graphic was created by Michelle Poirier, by the way, so just another nod to the art department there. To get it beyond a poster, to make it a real lived experience at the school. I was extremely encouraged to have 9 staff members really eagerly engage in a workshop that NEASC put on about a step 2 of the vision of the graduate. In short, you have your vision of the graduate, now what? And what that speaks to do is to really create a high quality performance assessment opportunity for students to show what they know. As I explained to the school council, the Abington High School School Council, it provides an exciting opportunity for us to invite the community in to showcase a little bit of what you saw today with our student receiving the award, some of the amazing things our students can do in their experience here, and give them something like a portfolio or an artifact that they can walk out these doors with when they're done with Abington High School, very proud of the work that they've done, very proud of the multiple revisions that they've taken on that work. The final piece under this first goal is for us as a staff to continue to participate in NEASC-related workshops. The New England Association of Schools and Colleges has a very robust professional development network and opportunities, and one of the great things they do is a model schools workshop where all their New England schools that do one aspect of high school life or the NEASC accreditation process particularly well, tell a little story about what they do and invite themselves up for visits in case you want to follow up. So for example, If the school has a great advisory program or intervention block, they'll tell you how they came from not having one to having one, and then invite you in for tours. That's the bulk of the first goal. The second goal is to develop and expand the skill set and repertoire of the professional staff on cultural proficiency in the building and in the classroom. We were very fortunate to have Dr. Cleese Warner come in this year to work with our staff. That was incredibly well received by our faculty. I was very grateful to have some of our staff members lead breakout conversations after the most recent professional development with Dr. Warner. Another opportunity is working with the district to participate with the Math Partnership for Diversity in Education. As Superintendent Schaefer mentioned, we are in the business of recruiting and hiring folks right now. And this would be an opportunity to potentially look at partnerships to attract, recruit, and retain staff from diverse backgrounds. One thing we have heard from our students is we'd like to see more staff that look like us. And as we know, the us is a changing face than what we might be familiar with, and it's really an exciting opportunity to add some new voices and perspectives to what we do. The third is to either create or to use an existing student group to participate in cultural proficiency, equity, and diversity conversations and workshops that happen in Massachusetts. Weymouth High School, for example, runs a student-led diversity summit, and it would be nice to have, obviously with being such a short distance away, our school center group of students, we definitely have an energized and interested group of students. And so whether it's the formation of a new group or working with someone like the Anti-Bullying Club or an existing group, we'd like to send them there. And Sutton High School also has a really nice summit that we'd like our students to participate to. All this speaks to the vision of the graduate, preparing our students to be socially competent contributors and self-aware individuals. So it does match very much with what we're trying to do, build our adult professional proficiency in the building, and then eventually increase the performance of what we do in our schools. So that's the bulk of the school improvement goals. What do you think you're part of the conversation with the school council? What about vaping? What about the building? And just to be clear, again, that's something I can guarantee you occupies the lion's share of my day-to-day thinking and doesn't disappear because it's not in the school improvement plan. So that, in a nutshell, is the school improvement plan for the school year ahead. Questions?
I have more than several, if that's okay. So under the school improvement plan, school improvement goal number 1, third row across, the professional development opportunities for school year 22-23. I was just wondering if I noticed that you mentioned participation in available NEASC workshops, model schools workshop. Do we have specifics? Are there others that are on that list? Is that what we're looking at?
So NEASC offers off and on throughout the year really quick virtual 1-hour sessions. One was about increasing student agency and voice in the classroom. And these are obviously great, quick, easy, cheap opportunities for us to send small groups of teachers to. The 9 educators who participated in that workshop, I think would be comfortable with me sharing with them that they left both days so invigorated and said, this is why we get into teaching. This sounds fantastic. So the energy and enthusiasm that those folks have, we want to capitalize on, continue on, and spread that to our work in curriculum development. This work doesn't have to be done through NEASC. It's just that obviously their work lines up neatly with the vision of the graduate and tends to tie into what we're doing anyhow. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there were any others on top of those that we had in mind yet, or if it's just kind of we're looking into workshops. I was just curious on that.
Yeah, the Model Schools Workshop is like a Cheesecake Factory menu of things that schools are doing really well around, and you just kind of pick and go and come back and say, oh wow, North Providence is doing a really great job with technology. Can we look at that? So it's just an exciting opportunity to get folks engaged.
Okay. Same row, you talked about a new revised curriculum. So my question is usually curriculum revision and writing is a long process. So is it like a 1, 3, 5-year plan? Do we have that established yet? And I'm assuming that we're going to make lots of professional development time available for the departments to do those revisions. Just wondering if that's on the PD plan.
Thank you. Yes. So as far as the new and revised curriculum, I think to that point, Ms. Grafton, it's not all the curriculum in next year is going to be updated. It's as we create new and as we revise curriculum, we are going to align it to the vision of the graduate. so using the curriculum development cycle to kind of gradually do that. Otherwise, that would be quite the undertaking for 1 year, I think.
Okay.
If I'm hearing you, that's what you're picking up on.
Yeah, just wondering. if
So
it
for
was a
example, the
complete
world
revision.
history curriculum is looking at making some modifications, and as they are doing that, they are directly aligning some of their units to the vision of the graduate. Same's happening in science in some cases as well.
Okay. And then just on the back, I noticed for the vision of the graduate, the proficiency indicators. I know that we didn't really touch on this in the presentation, but I love a lot of what I see, and I kind of already penned some of these ideas on paper for things that I was hoping to see. I'm seeing it show up. For the engaged participant, for actively contributing to the school community, if we're talking about proficiency for our students to be able to do that, do we have any ideas yet? Have we talked about how we're going to measure this?
No, so I think the idea of measuring this would be, and I just want to be clear that we are in the conversation phase as a school. So what I will share with you is a conversation we have, that some future cohort of graduating seniors will pick one of these 4 competency areas and say which one they're particularly proud of. So it really is student-centered, and as far as the choice and agency about them showing us what they know, it speaks to, they can pick that. Within that, they don't need to show us that they have met every single indicator. It's not like a check the box.
Yeah.
It's very much about the concept of mindsets and dispositions. So if we did have a student that was very actively engaged in the community, did a lot of positive work for the community, they might be able to create either a portfolio or a demonstration where they talked about the work that they've done in the community, maybe made like a picture or video montage to do that, and that's their product as well as talking about it. So I think that's the way we're looking to do that, as opposed to each student needs to actively contribute X number of hours or do this or that.
I love it. I'm only asking because I wish that we could come up with a way to get all of the kids involved and get them to do that, to have that proficiency in contributing to the school community. So I love it. I was just wondering what conversation had happened, if there was any around all. I would like them to be able to do all of those. Yeah. And I guess my last thought is that as the departments present for next year, kind of all these things are on my list. I'd like to see the departments, when they present, share examples of the great things that are going on through specific units or assignments, the activities that they're doing in the classrooms to provide instruction and practice of these indicators. So as you're kind of talking about revising the curriculum with this vision of the graduate, I'm so excited to see how we're already doing this and then figuring out ways to get all of these things and a few more things in there. So I love it.
And that actually reminds, this is the start of a multi-year process that the school's going to undertake. So I won't be back here in a year from now saying we did it. It's just this is year 1 of many. And our hope is, and selfishly as a parent of a sophomore who asked him, how was school today? Fine. What did you learn? Nothing. And I know that's not true. We want to be able to tell our parents, here's what your kid's doing in history right now. Here's what your kid's doing in science class, and to really help build that parent-school connection as well.
Great. Good stuff. Thank you.
My turn? You knew it was coming. No, just kind of jumping off. I love the fact that when you talk about these workshops, you literally get excited, which is great because that's what we want.
Yeah.
But within this model, do we have a way of taking that enthusiasm and allowing our students to go to some of these places as well so that they can collaborate with other students who have like-minded interests so that they can see a visual of how this vision of the graduate works? Because I think the theory is fabulous, but unless students can see other students collaborating, it doesn't always translate as well. Is there any possibility of things like that?
Absolutely. And I think part of yes, I think the challenge is right when we start to get our kids kind of like, hey, Mr. Bourne, what about this? We have like 2-3 years with them when they finally muster up the courage to come talk to me and not think I'm like a big mean principal or anything like that. But we absolutely do want to do that. The only problem with the Model Schools Workshop is that they offer so many wonderful things like the Cheesecake Factory menu. It's hard to kind of like just pick one thing to do well. Because the vision of the graduate work is so new through NEASC that I'm presently not aware, that doesn't mean there aren't any. schools that are doing it at the student output stage yet, because the standards are 3 years old, if that, in a draft form and 2 years in a lived form. So we'll be kind of on the vanguard of schools that would be doing this, but this is the direction many high schools are going.
Okay.
But yes, I would love to get students involved because they need to tell us. And part of the plan is that before this becomes a requirement for a senior class, we want to have the prior year's class do this as a pilot. Like, are you interested in? And so they can go through the growing pains and say, you know what would have been really helpful, or you know it was a big hassle. So we can learn that implementation from our own students.
Well, and is this something that you, like, students would start, would this be like day one of freshman year, working on 4 years towards senior year, or is this something that would be throughout senior year as you're kind of figuring out how do you envision the vision coming together?
Yeah, trust me, I played with the fun of saying, here's my vision of the graduate with staff. But we are also coincidentally having conversations about the curation of students' digital work. The benefit of going to a fully online platform is that all their work is stored in a cloud. And the curation is how to collect that, how to name things, and how to remember that work that they did freshman year. How to remember the work they've done at the middle school before that or outside of school being valuable. It doesn't have to happen in a classroom here to be valued. The existing structure of our mentor groups, which are mixed grades, 9, 10, 11, 12, that the student stays with the teacher all 4 years, would be one of the vehicles that teacher would be able to say, let's see what you got freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. In theory, once we're up and running, they will be able to see the current year, a freshman would see the juniors, seniors working on this, and then it just becomes acculturated. This is something I do at Abington High School.
Very cool. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I
No?
add
Yeah.
one thing?
Of course.
I'm the meeting extender. I keep adding things every time this topic. Not to be missed are the student achievements at the high school. And there's a page on that. And Jonathan didn't mention those at all. And I just want to highlight them highlight them for you. They include, your success with scheduling, academics, the stamp test, special education with our students participating in the Unified Sports Program, which we're very proud of, National Honor Society, scholarships, and the arts. And so I just didn't want that to go. People can read it, it's there. I didn't want it to go unrecognized, so thank you.
Miss Casey and the girls' soccer team was nice to leave out that you helped me cross the finish line at the Coombs race, which I appreciate. I almost didn't make it.
I want to say thank you. It's been great being your liaison, and everybody's very active and participating and all their input and feedback from the students, parents, and teachers. It's been really great.
Thank you.
Thanks for the great job you do.
Nice to have you as well.
Right. So next up, we have the report of the superintendent of schools.
Chris is fine.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. I wrote all over my paper. That's why. Chris, I apologize. So next up, we have actually the Beaver Brook Elementary School Improvement Plan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, and remind me next year not to go on the same night as the high school. Yeah, give me your jacket. Very similar to what Mr. Borden was discussing at the beginning of his discussion, on behalf of Mrs. Thompson and the entire staff of Beaver Brook, I want to thank our school council for the commitment they made to our school and the work they've done to collaborate last year and this year to develop our school improvement plan that was in place this year and the one that we have just recently approved for next year. So, and additionally, the entire school community is part of the living document of a school improvement plan. And we happen to have a member of our PTO here tonight, Melanie Whitney. So thank you so much for the PTO's participation. Whether you knew it or not, you'll see in our document that we recognize how important the PTO is in helping us achieve many of our goals. So quickly to review the goals that were in place this year that were developed last year. Based on trying to come out of this pandemic, our first goal was to reestablish connections to curriculum, routines, and relationships for students, families, and staff. Highlighting one of the accomplishments that got us towards that goal really was the amount of work our teachers did in teams and departments to revise their curriculum and their pacing and their assessments based on where the kids were when they got to them in September, not where they expect kids to be every year. So that was a huge task that our teachers undertook, and it was very important for us to do that for our students who were in front of us this year, based on where they've been for the last few. Our second goal for this year was to provide rigorous and relevant curriculum and instruction in an optimal learning environment. The one item there that I'll highlight that was successful this year, in a large part due to the leadership of Mrs. Thompson, was our WIN model, which I think we've talked about before, but I'll refresh your memory if we didn't, or if you don't remember. WIN stands for What I Need, and so every 6 weeks, classroom teachers meet together at Beaverbrook to look at student data in math and literacy, and then they remix their students based on their individual needs for targeted intervention. So twice a week for a half hour in the morning, students at K1 and 2 leave their homeroom, in most cases, sometimes it is their own homeroom teacher, but they leave their own homeroom, go to another classroom where they're receiving targeted instruction in an area of need for literacy, and that's for 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks of math afterwards, or sometimes vice versa, with support from other staff members in the building. So reading specialists, interventionists, tutors, paraprofessionals, sort of all hands on deck to help our students make up for where they've been for the last few years. So the WIN program has been very successful, in large part due to Mrs. Thompson's leadership. And our third goal for this year was to continue the development of a positive school climate for students, families, and staff. There are many, many activities that were sponsored by our PTO that are listed under the indicators of the accomplishments that we've made in that area. In addition to what's listed there, as a school community, our staff has their own Sunshine Committee. So they've put on many events during the year for staff to celebrate the work that they're doing, encourage them during very difficult times, and really bring them together as a community. So those were our 3 goals for this year, and we believe we did a nice job of accomplishing them, although, as Mr. Bourne said, there's always continued work to do. So that brings us to our proposed and finalized goals for next year. Like I said, our school council recently approved them. Goal 1 is to improve reading proficiency of all students. Goal 2 is to improve supports and outcomes for students with disabilities as well as English learners. And Goal 3 is to increase family engagement in student learning experiences. I'll just highlight a few areas of accomplishment that we're hoping for, or indicators of accomplishment that we're aiming for next year. We have right now a committee of teachers who are looking to implement or recommend, so that we can implement a phonics program to get at that first goal of improving reading proficiency for all students. It's based on feedback we received from teachers, in addition to the student data that we've been looking at as a school community. An area of weakness for our students, whether it's related to the pandemic or not, is phonics. So we are in the process of identifying a program. Teachers and staff will be trained in it once we identify one and make the purchase. And that will be ongoing work for next year for sure, but to Mrs. Grafton's point, it's a multi-year project. Anytime you adopt a new program, the initial training is just the beginning. So that is goal 1. Does anybody have any questions about that goal?
Just a comment I love for both Beaverbrook and the high school, that as we're trying to get teachers and students back to being the learners that they were, that we're focusing on just a few goals. I really like that we're slowing things down a little bit. So I appreciate that we're not throwing too many initiatives at our teachers, and that we're giving them some input and voice. And for new programs, just wondering if we have if they'll be, for next year, if we can make sure that they're surveyed a few times to see how things are going. I know that we do that,
Yeah.
but just as we get into that, just that thought.
For
Thank
sure.
you.
They'll be, we'll be looking for feedback after the initial training, and then exactly as you're saying, periodically after they've begun implementation to see where they need more training, more support, or just generally how it's going.
Thank you.
Dr. Basta, I think that boost program that you mentioned earlier too will probably play a
Exactly.
part in this goal. It ties in nicely to it.
Thank you for noticing that.
I love the Boost program as well, and I just wanted to ask about the phonics.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm not an expert or anything, but teachers used to teach like phonics, right? And then I felt like they kind of stepped away from it just because of guidance and everything and the way the world was going. So now it seems we're going back that way.
Well, sort of. So teachers
Okay.
have always had to teach phonics because
Right,
that's
right.
how kids learn to read. But
It wasn't
yes,
as in
everything in
depth.
education is a pendulum, and we're always looking for a balance.
Yeah.
As the actual people on the ground, right? But philosophically, there's a pendulum that swings back and forth. And for sure, the field shifted slightly away from phonics. It was still there, but a reduced emphasis on phonics. And so, yeah, this is for sure swinging back nationally, and it's something that we had previously identified here and have been trying to get to.
Excellent. I love that we're getting right back into it because I think that was a huge miss for a long time. Not just our school, but like you said, nationally.
Generally, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goal 2, improving supports and outcomes for students with disabilities as well as English learners. The 2 items that I would point out in addition to everything that's listed for next year, in conjunction with Dr. Robbins, we are training all of the special educators at Beaverbrook in the Orton-Gillingham reading program, which provides a multisensory approach to reading instruction to help students connect language with letters and words. It's sort of a deeper systematic dive into phonics for students who need even more support than what Tier 1 instruction looks like, and Tier 2 and Tier 3 actually. So students who'd be receiving that are receiving specialized instruction as opposed to Tier 1, 2, and 3. Thanks for looking at me like that, reminding me of that. And then the other item that I would point out for that goal is several years ago, before I was working in Massachusetts, DESE mandated that all teachers be endorsed to provide sheltered English immersion instruction and activities to support English learners in the general ed classroom. So all of our teachers have to have that endorsement as part of their licensure. That was 6 or 7 years ago, I think. Because of, as Mr. Bourne mentioned, the changing landscape of our population, it's more important than ever that our teachers are implementing what they learn as part of that mandate from DESE. So we, as a school, will be focusing on refreshing our teachers' memory and giving them practice and models and support to deliver those SEI strategies for the students in their rooms who are learning English, but at the same time, it benefits all students. One example is, before I teach a science lesson, I would review 3 or 4 key vocabulary words for the whole class, so that before we actually get into the lesson, everyone is going to understand those 3 or 4 vocabulary words. So it's targeted at the English learners, but it's really helping every student in the room. So that is something that we need to focus on. Like I said, it's something that was put in place 6 or 7 years ago, but it's more important than ever for us right now. And our last goal of increasing family engagement in student learning experiences, we had plans, Mrs. Thompson and I, to begin hosting parent information evenings. So a STEM night, a literacy night at Beaverbrook for parents to see what their children are doing, similar to something that Mr. Bourne mentioned. This is why I said I didn't want to follow him next year.
I stole all his ideas.
All my thunder, all my thunder. So parents could see what their students are doing, children are doing, and actually do it with their child. So that was our plan when Mrs. Thompson and I started 2.5 years ago, and then the pandemic happened. So So we are looking to get back to that next year with starting out slowly with a STEM night and probably a literacy night, and then seeing where we can go from there. So does anybody have any questions about the Beaverbrook School Improvement Plan?
I got not really more comments, I guess, maybe. So the last, I mean, Chris, you guys have been stuck more than anybody for the last, everybody in your school started, right? Started in a pandemic or has been there, but you haven't had
That's right.
anybody who has, so it's been
The children.
the children,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the children. So I'm just like, when trying to get the family engagement, I'm hopeful for you that going into next year, now, I'm quoted as saying, I don't know when anything's gonna be
Yeah.
forever, but I'm hopeful that going into next year, you guys are able to implement anything. Just to get those parents in to start, because I mean, you have the parents coming in, I know there's some with the EEP, but generally speaking, you
Right.
have those parents coming in for the first time, and to get them and start to, because they get involved. I mean, I was looking at it, my first time not having somebody at Beaverbrook since 2015. So they get in from the beginning, that's when they get in there, and it's easy to, everybody, I mean, you're more involved with your young kids as they're starting off, so I'm hopeful that you're able to get that'll work towards the goal 3, just the nature of the environment. And the other thing was, the WIN program, that sounds awesome. And I don't know what goes on everywhere, but I didn't know if it may be in a different form, but possibly utilized at Woodsdale as well. I don't know like what their subjects are. I know maybe it's not, but if it can be like a shared thing. And I mean, like Mr. Hawes has, or whoever has will have their own stuff to work on, but it's just an idea, I guess.
Yeah, there are definitely intervention programs in place at Woodsdale.
Yep.
But let's consider this year at Beaverbrook, just like we're thinking about Boost as a pilot,
Yeah.
let's consider WIN at Beaverbrook as a pilot,
Yeah.
so that we can look to see how it might benefit
No,
Woodsdale
yeah, the
also.
sound of it is great, so
Well-
thank you.
And I think Jonathan will be here next month. So we can,
Win was
ask him
there,
that
and
question.
then Win went away, and then Win came back.
Okay.
So I do know that a lot of the teachers at Woodsdale were actually at Beaverbrook with the last iteration of Win. So a lot of them are familiar with how it's worked.
Okay, that's great,
So
yeah,
I
great.
don't think that they currently do a similar type thing, but the theory, a lot of them have already.
Yep, no, yeah, it might be the same, but like the idea of it, so yeah.
And I would just follow up, and then I'll be done unless there are more questions, that Mrs. Thompson and I were not at Beaverbrook clearly in the past when there was a different iteration of WIN, but what I can say is a benefit of this WIN model is the robust nature of the data analysis that teachers are doing and the targeted instruction. We're making sure that the group of 15 or 20 students that the teacher has just for that half hour twice a week, along with a paraprofessional or a tutor, they're there because they need to work on their CVC words, and the teachers are providing direct instruction for that need. So, any other questions or thoughts?
Can I ask, did you, refresh my memory, did you have a family night in April?
So we are a Title I school, so as part of that grant, we are required to have Title I family nights. So there was in the fall Title I parent night, and then in April, on April 12th, there was also a reading and math intervention night that was through the Title I department.
Okay, so that was through
Yeah.
Title I. Okay, just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. I just want to say that I love your, like, the duo that you two are. You play off of each other really well. So I like that a lot. And the PTO at Beaverbrook has always been so strong and
They're a
supportive.
powerhouse.
Yeah, totally.
Incredible.
So
yeah, it's
keep that
tough to
going.
work with them.
Right?
So can I add in one quick thing?
Yes.
So as a school system, the most important thing we do is keep kids safe, right? The second most important thing we do as a system is teach them how to read. And so we're fortunate that, especially coming out of the pandemic, that this is the work you're doing to help recover in that area for our kids. So that was it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you both for
Thank you.
coming. We really appreciate it. Thanks for the update. Now on to you, huh?
Okay. So this is an easy one. If we count up the number of days and the snow that we've had, I need to ask the committee, the math works because one of my best friends in the world, Teresa Minahan, tells me the math works, that we'll get all our days in. And that's the establishment of the final day of school as Thursday, June 23rd.
Power outage helped too.
Yeah, I'd ask if the committee would consider establishing that day as the last day of school.
I would like to go earlier.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
And my next agenda item, I'll just spend a moment on, and then I'm really gonna ask the committee to consider it. Consideration of the school calendar. You have 2 school calendars. You have one that you were given with the packet. We used that one as a handout last time. You also have a handout that we gave you tonight. The difference between the 2 calendars, I think everybody is aware. One has us going to school on Good Friday next year, and the other one has us with that day off. And that's the only difference. And so one has us anticipated last day of school 1 day earlier and then one day later. We've had discussions over 2 months. That doesn't mean that our backs are against the wall. If you don't want to decide tonight, we could push it to next month. It would be better to get the information out there if we could. And so it's up to the committee and how they want to establish this. So I'd ask, after whatever discussion or questions people want to have, if a member of the committee would make a motion to put one calendar forward, hopefully we'd get a majority vote on that calendar, and then we'd be done. If we don't, then we'd obviously take a look at the second one, if the committee would be willing to do that, and vote the second one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's up to our committee members with the level of
Does anybody
discussion. Or
have questions or want to talk about
I
it?
have one question. I think it might be more for Felicia or Peter. Does going to school on Good Friday affect anything that we may not be thinking of if we do it, like financial or anything like that?
Yeah, so in our collective bargaining agreements for 12-month employees and our individual employment contracts for 12-month employees, it does list Good Friday as a paid holiday. So if we were to go to school on Good Friday, then we would renegotiate that contract with the employees, and I would anticipate something like a floating holiday. So they could, depending on the number of people, either take Good Friday as that floating holiday or take a floating holiday another day.
Okay.
Are you still in negotiations?
Yes, and we haven't.
This is for the 12-month. That would be for the 12-month.
For 12-month
anyway,
employees,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And this hasn't been voted yet, so it hasn't been an implication.
So if this does get voted in and it does go to, having to go into school on Good Friday, would this be able to be put into that negotiation, or do you have to do a new one? Does that make sense?
We haven't begun negotiations
Okay.
with the 2 collective bargaining groups that it would impact, which would be the custodians and maintenance, so would be part of that. And then the other 12-month employees, that have individual employment contracts, we haven't begun negotiating with them either.
Okay, and who are those again? I'm sorry, like secretaries, some secretaries?
Those would be administrators,
Okay.
director of technology, administrative assistants in the superintendent's office.
Okay, so are they on salary though?
They're 12-month employees, yeah.
Okay, so, all right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Wait, I didn't
No.
If we're if it won't put you in a bind where we're violating any kind of agreement, though.
It
right?
will not.
Currently. Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
It would not.
And to be clear, we could vote to make a change, and down the road, if it didn't seem like it was a good and viable change, we could
Yeah,
always
Peter, I guess
vote to go back.
we vote this every year.
We
Calendar
vote
is
this calendar
voted in,
every year,
correct? Okay.
correct?
yes.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the dates here, and, with the inclusion of the 5 snow days to finish on Friday the 23rd, if we were to have any sort of random catastrophic weather event, I don't know, we're pushing things here.
We're ended on the 23rd now.
Right.
So
But that's also because we started school late, right?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the same, I mean,
Yeah.
it's virtually, it's because we had no power in October for 3 days.
Right.
It's basically why we're stuck
right.
where we are, so.
Right. That's never gonna happen again.
Promise?
Right.
I got a generator now, so. I don't have any, I mean, I don't have any further discussion. I mean, I'm willing to listen to everything, but
I really
think
don't
I've
have
asked
an
all the
opinion either way,
questions.
to be honest. So,
I would like to put forth, should I put one forth? Is that okay?
If you want to.
So I would like to consider putting forth the calendar where we go to school on Good Friday. It is the Friday, not the Friday directly before April vacation, the Friday before that.
Yep.
So with the vacation right ahead of that, I would rather see the day in school in April. And I'm going to stick with learning being better in April than in June. So if we're doing what's in the best interest of the kids with a vacation coming right after and better learning happening then I would like to see us consider the calendar where we are in school on Good Friday.
Are you making a motion?
So that's a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
There we go.
Thanks.
Thank you. Danielle, for
As we get
bringing
closer
that
to
up.
April 7th, 2023, if there could be reminders.
oh yeah, no, yeah.
So I was also asked if I could,
Yes.
quickly, another meeting extender, to give a brief update on the Woodsdale principal search, and leading that search has been Felicia, so it's better.
Sure. Thank you. So yes, we have established a principal search committee. We advertised as soon as we knew that Mr. Haas was leaving, we advertised the Woodsdale principal position. We established a principal search committee that met for the first time this evening. That's made up of parents, staff, school committee member, and administrators. And we reviewed applications tonight. We've selected certified, qualified candidates to interview next week. We'll be doing 2 nights of interviews next week. Then will be our charge of the committee is to provide Mr. Schaefer with finalists to then do a second and possibly third round of interviews and reference checks, et cetera. And should the candidate come out of that pool, then they would be hopefully introduced at the next school committee meeting. If for some reason a viable candidate doesn't come out of that pool, then we could re-advertise. We're confident that it will, but there are options should it not. We could re-advertise and/or have an interim principal in there for a year. However, like I said, we had candidates today. We reviewed them with the committee, and I think we have a nice group of candidates to interview next week.
Excellent.
Felicia's doing a
Thank
great
you.
job running the committee.
Thanks.
So.
Thanks, Felicia.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, so that was a quick one, kind of. Well, we have a few dates to remember. Heidi has something very important to speak about.
No, just a reminder for anyone who's interested, there is a cleanup committee at Ames Knoll State Park on Saturday, April 30th, I believe, starting at 10 a.m., which is also election day, so you can vote and then go clean things. So if anyone has any questions, they can reach out, but it's a cleanup day at Ames Knoll on Saturday the 30th.
Excellent, thank you, Heidi, appreciate it. A few other dates to remember is Saturday, April 30th is also the Abington Town Elections, which is from 8 to 6 p.m., and this is at Beaver Brook. So again, Beaver Brook are your town elections from 8 to 6. Wednesday, May 4th is the Green Wave Boosters meeting. That's usually in the cafeteria here. Tuesday, May 24th is the school committee meeting at 7 p.m. Wednesday, May 25th is the in-service early release day. I also want to say good luck to everybody running on your election. And the next school committee meeting will be Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. So that's it. Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I will second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abington Camp.
Thank you, Abington Camp, definitely.